What's up, motherfuckers? 3 days ago, the Youth Championship ended with victory of Fabiano Caruana in open section and victory of Carissa in the women's section. But today we're going to see the decisive game to decide who ended in the second position in the women's section. The game between Alice Lee and Anna Sargsyan. Both players are fighting for the podium and for end runner up of the tournament. So this is the last round of the Youth Women's Championship. So let's analyze the game. Okay, Alice Lee opened with knight f3, d5 by Anna, d4, e6, c4, knight f6, knight c3, and bishop b4. That's the Ragozin defense. Nowadays, it's a defense employed so much. c6 here was another option. Take on c4, bishop e7, but bishop b4 nowadays are. Oh, bishop e7 is a little bit worse, I think. But no, but okay, bishop e7 was playable too. But bishop e4 nowadays are much employed in the Ragozin defense. Queen a4, typical check, knight c6. The idea of playing the queen on c4 was basically obligate black to play the knight on c6 with bad plays against the d4 pawn. This is not the best square for the queen, of course. The queen should go to c2 mostly, but the knight is bad place on c6. That's the idea of play queen e6. But here the knight is bad on c6. e3 by white, sword castle, bishop d2, and here Anna plays a move a little bit strange. Now with bishop d2, white is basically threatening a3. That's the white's idea when she plays bishop d2. And to play against a3, I think about two moves. Or take on c4, to then just can play bishop d6 followed by e5 and break the white strong center. Here, black plans are always or break with c5 or break with d5. With the knight on c6, break on c5 is never possible. That's one of the ideas of play queen a4. For that reason, black here should break on e5. Bishop d6 and just e5 and break everything. For take, knight g4, bishop d4, c5, bishop takes, rook e8. So castle here knight e3 or b6. There are many games, but the position is approximately equal. And the other option to prevent a3 is just rook e8 to just give the fate square for the bishop. Instead of that, Anna plays a6. Okay, there are games with this move, but it's not my favorite move in the position. Just because after a3, I don't know what's black can play, just maybe take here, but I think that here white is better. After bishop takes e3. But instead of c3, of a3, sorry, Alice goes with queen c2. Strange move. In my opinion, I prefer e3. And finally, Anna understands that his opponent is playing a3, so she finally takes here and plays bishop d6, with the clear idea of just play e5. So castle, and here can look like e5 is the best move of the position, and this is the most employed move. But b5 here was stronger and scored with better results. Bishop b2 and just bishop b7. Of course, black next move is going to be 5. So for that reason, white anticipates, play 94, queen takes, but here 95 and the position is equal. e5, okay, was playable, but I think that b5 is slightly better. But okay, e5 is a move with many games. d takes, knight takes, trade everything. Here white have many moves, but Alice plays f4, will move trying to, yes, to advance his pawn majority. And now black have a majority in the queen side, and white have a pawn majority in the king side. So it's about who player advance more and use more his pawn majority. So we'll move f4 trying to advance just the central pawns. And here was a stronger play bishop d4. This yes, this piece sacrifice, who is not a piece sacrifice, of course, because black cannot take here because just queen takes and queen c4. So bishop d4 is not a real piece sacrifice. But the bishop before, yeah, it's not a real piece sacrifice, but that's the best option. Just changing the diagonal of the bishop. If white makes some moves just to prepare the capture on d4, for example, king h1, leaving the check, you just can go to a7, just trading the diagonal of your bishop. Bishop d3 and king h8. Or if h3, the same, bishop e7, just changing the diagonal. Because the problem is that after bishop d6, looks like this bishop is bad placed here after a possible e4, e5. Here that's not the best square for the bishop. The bishop should be placed on the long diagonal of a7. Or b6 if you want, but a7 is a little bit better to have the possibility of b5. But yes, bishop b6, the problem is that here the bishop is a little bit misplaced after e4, e5 with the white plan. Okay, bishop b3 will move. Here b5 was a little bit better, but okay, it's playable. And here, I think that Alice doesn't understand well the position. Here Alice plays knight e4, trying to play, I don't know, with the pieces, and then place the rooks in the center, and try to have a little bit more. Okay, of course, white still having a normal position, but I think that here the white plan is e4, e5. What happened that here e4 is not possible because bishop d5 and knight g4. Bishop d5 and knight g4 with black advantage. So for that reason, preparing move, king is one. Now leaving the diagonal, and now black is coming, white is coming with e4 and e5, and I don't know black can play against c45. Look like a strong plan. The pieces look here well played, and yes, if 45 is coming, and black is in some troubles. With 94, you are placing a piece in front of your pawn, so it's so strange. You want to push your majority, not blockade your majority. So I don't like 94. Here, okay, knight queen is 7, rook b8 to preserve the machine, but rook 8 is fine. Now we enter in a phase of the game who is everything more equal. Maybe white in some moments have the small advantage, but now the game seems to so equal. C6 all the time was fine, but both players are playing normal moves. Rook b8, finally, white plays c4, and and here, sorry, yes, here it was stronger play f6, just covering the move e5. But okay, Anna decides to allow e5, which is not the end of the war, but was slightly better if you avoid e5. But okay, the game continues normal. Bishop c5, king is one, e5 is slightly better, but bishop d7 is fine. And here again, Alice doesn't understand the position. Here the rook is well placed on f1 because white plan is just try to push the f pawn and attack the white king. So if white have the advantage in the king side and with these two pawns, I don't understand why he plays the rook on d1. Another mistake in my opinion. Here was stronger or play bishop c3 with the idea of defend e5, then bishop e4 to defend f5 and push the f1, the f pawn, and these pawns are going to be dangerous here. So that's my favorite plan here. Bishop c3 to defend the pawn and push the pawns. Or bishop e4 with the same idea, then bishop c3 defending on f5. That's the white plan of the position. But all the time it's about push the pawns. Push the pawn majority. But Alice doesn't understand the position again and she plays rook fd1. I don't know what the rook is doing on d1. Rook bd8. Before bishop d4. Bishop c6. Just trading bishops. I don't know why. Bishop c6, queen e6. Trade. And here she plays finally, but it's completely crazy why Alice played this game. It's so bad. Uh, First, you remove the rook from the file who defend the pawn, and then you play a5. So instead of just place the pieces, the bishop on e3, a bishop on c3, a bishop on e4, a bishop on c3, to play a5 with all the pieces well placed, and you have more spatial advantage, so you shouldn't trade pieces. Instead of that, she plays back the rook, she trade pieces, she allows that the black pawns to attack e5, and when everything is in black favor, and nothing said that with white you should advance the pawn. Now you decide to advance the pawns. That is completely crazy the early game. I don't really like nothing there how I actually play this game. F5. So here, of course, you cannot play because rook e1, but here was stronger queen e7 instead of queen d8 play by Anna because after queen d5, white just can defend the pawn with bishop f4 and you are placing the queen in the same file than your opponent rook. It's a strange move. Queen e7 was stronger, because after bishop f4 you can just take on e5. And if bishop d6, maybe he was scared about bishop d6. But here the machine say that just after queen d8, black is completely fine. Maybe it's not so easy, but to understand that after queen d8 black is better. But okay, queen e5 looks a little bit strange, placing the queen in the same file of the rook. Now the position is equal again. Bishop f4, good move, defending the pawn, c5, and now f6. Okay, it's not the best, but doesn't Yes, I fuck the position so much. 26, and b takes, fg, rook b7, good move. Uh, I don't know how to say, activating the rook. Now we saw that white have an extra pawn. White have five pawn and black only four. But black is more active in this position. This bishop is so good. The rook is centered on b2, so I prefer a little bit the black position. Apart, the e7 pawn is not a great pawn. It's just defending the black king. I sure that white prefer that this pawn doesn't six over the board because this pawn just defend the black king. 24, rook b2, good move. H3, rook e8, and now Alice plays two strange moves. Okay, the first is only strange, and the second is the real blunder according to the machine. But for me, the first move is okay. I can accept it. She plays bishop e3. The problem is that after bishop e3, rook e2, and the bishop is pinned, so you didn't want to pin your bishop. I understand that he wants to trade his opponent best piece with the default bishop, but after rook e2, your bishop is just pinned. And here he should play just rook d3, defending the bishop. And okay, black is slightly better, but anything bad is happened to white. What's the problem? That he plays rook e1, blundering a rook. Maybe she only saw that okay, she can capture and now we are going to trade bishops. But after bishop e3, play by Anna, mm, you cannot take here because I take your queen, and you cannot take the rook because I take your rook. So piece up for Sargsyan and second place in the US Open. Bishop e3, okay, rook f1, rook bb2, rook f6, and queen e3, and Anna, okay, you cannot take, okay, you should take, but rook a2 and checkmate. So second place for Anna Sargsyan in the US Women Championship. I want to find the stand for a moment. Let me show us the stand. Alice Lee goes during some moments of the tournaments in the top of the board, but she finally, yes, the last part of the tournament she played so bad, and she was passed by Alice Lee, sorry, by Carissa Jeep and by Anna, by many players. But okay, she was playing a really good set in the first rounds, but she ends playing so bad. Okay, I want to show us the standings a little. One moment. Let me, if I can trade it. 1 second. Capture your champions here. Okay, here. Yeah, you can see the final standings. Carissa Jeep won the tournament. I made a video analyzing the last round of Carissa Jeep if you want to watch it. And okay, other games of Carissa, and thanks to this victory and in the second position, this victory has a value of 20,000 dollars because if Alice G had won the game, she could earn 20,000, but instead of that, Anna won and she was the player who earned the $30,000 prize, not a bad price for a 24 player. And yes, Irina ended in the third position with 7 points. I only analyzed one game of Irina, but it's a loss. I didn't want to. Okay, I recommend the video, but it's not about Irina. It's about the victory of Carissa against Irina. So interesting tournament. I enjoy too much the games. I follow more the tournament of the men's, the open tournament. But at the last rounds, I start to follow more the women's too, and I really enjoy the game. So let's see the next videos. Bye bye, my fuckers.